I am Sarah Litt, and I am in the garden.
Let's explore creative minds at the panel garden. See what blooms, see what we find at the panel garden. Comics, cartoons, from old and new, nerdy papes, writers, editors, and art. Picking all their minds apart, with evil web as adorable as it gets.
So, how did you get started as an editor? Did you start as a writer?
No. I'm actually, I think that there are a few editors out there, and I count myself as one of them, who just want to be editors. Like I love editing. I just want to sit and read and correct people because that's the kind of person I am. And just do that. And I've tried my hand at writing. I'm sure you've read Ahoy Comics, and we have the editor's note in the back of the book. And sometimes that's like the hardest part of being an editor at Ahoy is writing that editor's note, and it can be trying. It takes me several days, but I actually, as I said, really all I ever wanted to do is sit and read, and this was the best possible way for me to go about it. I started off in traditional publishing at what was then Penguin and what is now Penguin Random House, doing, of all things, self-help books. And then someone said, hey, there's an opening at DC at Vertigo, actually, they were doing an OGN project with doing all original graphic novels. And so I was brought on to do that. And the rest is kind of history.
So how does the creative process work at Ahoy? Does it start with a top-down or a bottom-up? Is it sort of a grassroots, organic collaboration? How does it work?
We are a very collaborative group at Ahoy. So if I get a pitch in or a project in, I will bring it, and I think it's fantastic. I will bring it to Tom and to Hart Seeley and to Stuart Moore and to Darren Bennett as well. And we'll all sort of take a look at it, and, usually we try to get a unanimous vote, but that's not always possible. But if majority wins, then we start going ahead with it. And my own process as an editor, so once that part is out of the way, my own process as an editor is I do try to be as collaborative as possible, because it's your book that I'm editing. It's not mine. And my job is to make it your best book, right? So I want you to be happy with the changes. So when I make them, it's always in the form of suggestions. And I'm willing to argue with you why I think I'm right, and I'm willing to hear you out about why you think you're right. And usually there's some sort of consensus. There's only been one time, and this was with America's Sweetheart, where I kind of put my foot down about something that Kwanzaa wanted, and I just sort of said, absolutely not. He wanted aliens, and I said no.
Aliens.
No aliens.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. So, Ahoy Comics is sort of a unique animal. On the one hand, you're sort of set up as a smaller, more independent, more unique publisher. But on the other, you're sourcing your books with major talent. So, what I'm curious about is, what's the pace like? Does Ahoy feel more like a smaller studio or a larger publisher?
One of the really nice things about working with Ahoy is that they try to make sure that there are several issues that are complete before it goes to press. So nobody feels pressured. Because I mean that I feel like can kind of gum up the works unto itself. But generally, like, well, Blacksmith is kind of an interesting uh, example because we were working on it during the pandemic, and basically we knew it was going to come out. Like, there was absolutely no question this book was not getting canceled. That was never on the table. But we didn't really want to put anything out when nobody was able to go and buy things, when, people's money would be very tight, because it's not fair to the creative teams. It's not fair to anybody, really. So that book was fully completed by the time it came out. But Billionaires Island, we had, I think, three or four completed issues before the first one even came out. When I first heard about it, because they had bought it before I came onto Ahoy, and when they were telling me about it, they said, "Yeah, it's about an island, like an island full of billionaires." I was like, "Do people hunt them? Like, what is the full pitch?" So I still kind of want the billionaires to be hunted. I think that would be kind of
No, that would be great. That would be awesome. I would read that.
No, I liked it. It had one of my all-time favorite characters of any comic I've ever read. It had Business Dog, which is, I mean, you can't really top that.
You know what I love about the Ahoy books is how they start off with like these pitches that sound like high concepts. And then you get there and you realize that no matter what it is that Ahoy's putting out, they never quite take themselves too seriously.
No, that is actually a requirement. Is that you cannot take yourself seriously. The books cannot take themselves seriously. None of the team takes themselves seriously. We are generally a very happy bunch. It's honestly, I think, one of the nicest companies I've ever worked for. The people are just so genuinely kind.
How do you approach inclusion in your work?
That is a really good question. I've been fortunate enough to work with people who already kind of have it within themselves to make books inclusive. So working with Eric, even though Blacksmith is black and white, the original plan was for Strummer to be a black woman, a black werewolf woman, and Kwanzaa, obviously, black is sort of by its nature what it is. And even Ash and Thorn with Mariah McCourt, the main character is an older black woman. So I think that maybe it's luck, maybe just the people who I've worked with already have it kind of in them, and that's sort of how it goes. But I take that back, actually, because I am working with somebody on a novel, and today they asked me, well, how do you visualize the main character? And granted, the character is kind of an alien, which I know what I said, but but the first thing in my mind, the first thing I came up with was obsidian. Right? I just imagine this character to be sort of obsidian and kind of very dark skin, very dark skinned, and I said kind of like shimmery almost, you know? So, you know, and that writer was right on board with it. So I think that the characters sometimes just lend themselves to it.
So I think one question that I really should ask editors more often is do you ever start a project in a space where you're just really excited about the project, but end up in a place where it's just work and you're glad it's over?
I don't I don't really think that it's ever just a job. Like I think that once you see it that way, once the fun goes out of it, then it's time to kind of do something else for a little while. And I did get to that point many years back. But you know, I took a hiatus and I realized comics are what I enjoy doing. Editing is what I enjoy doing. But no, it never becomes just a job unless you're working with somebody who's not wonderful. And I've had the great fortune of working with mostly incredible people.
I imagine comics is very different than science fiction or self help books. How do you define, at least for yourself, what the role of an editor is?
Um, I think it's somebody who wants to take your book and make it better, right? Like, I think that you have to kind of want to help the writer turn it into the best thing that it can possibly be, the best piece of work, the best piece of art that it could possibly be, and not necessarily feel like you need to have your input and your suggestions be in there, because if you do, then you should be writing your own book. um, but I think for me the role of my role as an editor also kind of depends on who I'm working with, because I think that there are definitely creative teams who are more open to the collaborative nature that I personally prefer. And there are some who are just sort of like, it's going to be like this, and it's going to be like this, and it's going to be like this. So it really kind of depends, and you have to sort of feel your way around it. Um, but I think that that's also kind of important as an editor. You have to be really sort of flexible, um, because every single writer that you work with is going to be different, and they're going to have different methods, and they're going to want different things from you, and also they're going to need different things from you. Like I'm working on a book with somebody at Ahoy, who is very new to comics, and they need a little bit more. I don't want to say hand holding, but they need a little bit more, like face time, a little bit more guidance than, let's say, Mark Russell, who has been doing this. I mean, I feel like dude puts out a new title like every other week.
He is seriously prolific. I don't know how he does it. I don't know anybody who can keep up.
I do not think he sleeps.
I was I was in a chat on one of Bob Quinn's streams, and he said that he loves Mark because he's just so um, he's so with it, and he takes feedback, and he really collaborates. What's it like working with him?
Oh, it was so easy. I mean, his scripts practically write themselves, and he writes very quickly. You know, and again, he's very open to suggestions. But as I say, for the most part, like he just turns in this work that's pretty amazing. So it's very easy. I think he's got elves
Uh,
maybe that do it. Like shoemaker elves, but script writing elves. It has to be something.
oh, you know what? That never occurred to me. I, I wonder why. You know. Anyway, um, so what kind of challenges do you think you face on a regular basis as part of the job?
Oh, uh, again, it depends. Sometimes you get writers who don't necessarily listen or take your suggestions, or who kind of are sort of argumentative about it. And again, like I don't my my thoughts and my comments are always going to be just that. They're always going to be suggestions, and if you can give me a good reason for something, I'm more than happy. But sometimes people just hold on to ideas when they should let go a little bit. So that can always be a little bit trying. Sometimes you get writers and artists who are completely unresponsive, and that makes me absolutely insane. Like I try to respond to emails. I'm I'm a little bit neurotic about it, so I try to respond to emails as soon as I get them. And because I'm in a completely different time zone than most people, I get emails like first thing in the morning. So I'm like responding to them before a coffee, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Nobody's going to see this. Why do you do this? When people are unresponsive to emails, it drives me absolutely batty. I'm also, as you noticed, sort of chronically on time, if not early. So people turning in work late it just makes me itchy. Um, which is one of the reasons it's good that Ahoy sort of does not put things out um, until there's plenty that is done, because sometimes that becomes an issue. And then I had an artist who just sort of disappeared off the planet, which was not great. So yeah, so stuff like that really makes the job difficult, but fortunately, it's so rare that it happens. For the most part, I've been quite lucky to work with people who are responsive, who are easy to work with, who are Eric Pilicki and Kwanzaa and
Nice.
Mark.
I love all of those guys. I've never met Mark, but I suspect that I would just think he was tops.
I believe so. I have not met him, but I think he is an absolute delight. In his emails, he's an absolute delight.
I know Eric and Kwanzaa, and they're like both two of my favorite people.
Yes, me too.
So how much production work, just sort of above and beyond the story, do you oversee? Do you work with letterers and colorists too?
Yeah, I mean, I see this story from beginning to end. Make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be. For the most part, we have a staff letterer at Ahoy. We work with Rob Steen, who is fantastic. He also does a lot of the production for us, and he is absolutely wonderful. But I work with every part of the book, including the short stories. I guess, once a month or so, Tom and Hart and I will get together on Zoom and go through the short stories, and do our short story cage match. And then yeah, and then we just sort of have them for the backs of the books.
And that's one of the things I love about the Ahoy books is, you're sort of reading a regular comic, and then all of a sudden, for lack of a better comparison, it almost feels like either old timey comics or reading Playboy in the 70s. It's that same feel where you just sort of switch gears and you're like, oh wow, yeah, this is neat.
You are absolutely correct. We really do get some amazing stories, and some of them are sent to us by, people we know, but a lot of them come from the slush pile. And I realize that I am going to regret saying this, but one of my responsibilities at Ahoy is to go through the slush pile and kind of weed out the stories. So I read everything that comes in, and we just have some absolutely, and it's a tough job. We get some absolutely phenomenal stories that come in, and it's people who maybe have never written a story before, or, sometimes we get things that, from established writers, and sometimes we get things from people who are quite young and trying to, and maybe want to dip their toes into things. And one of the best parts of this job is getting to write emails to the people who have submitted to the slush pile and saying like, hey, congratulations, we're going to buy your story. So getting their responses back is just, it just makes my day complete. And for so many people, it's their first time getting something published. And, it's incredible. I would hope that most of the writers I know at this point are not so jaded that there's not a little tiny thrill, when their stuff it comes out, to like have it physically in their hands. I mean, for me it's still a thrill. I remember driving when Blacksmith issue 1 came out. I was in a van with some friends driving from Spain to Portugal to my new apartment, and reading the reviews for Blacksmith, and like in tears because people liked it so much. I was just so happy, and so happy for Eric, and so happy for Wendell, and so happy for Liana. It was just, I was like, this is just the best day that has happened ever.
That is awesome. And the creative team on that, like you were saying, was just they were amazing.
Yeah, it was so much fun to work on it with them. And Liana was the only person I wanted for covers. And Liana also designed the logo.
Oh, really?
The Blacksmith title logo.
Do you have a favorite book that you've worked on in your career so far?
How do you choose between your children?
Pick your babies.
They are all my favorite. I love every single one of them equally. No, I mean, the truth is I'm just really scared is the truth. No, I mean, I really enjoyed working on all of them. Because Blacksmith is the one I've worked on most recently. Blacksmith is my favorite this week.
Awesome.
Black is always going to be my favorite just because it's really close to my heart, and that entire team they're just amazing, wonderful people. And working with them was a really amazing experience, working with them and working on that book in general, and sort of all of the press surrounding it, and then doing a lot of podcasts and being kind of invited into these spaces that I don't think I would necessarily be invited into, was just an incredible experience.
Awesome. Black is just it's one of those rare books. It speaks loudly.
Yeah, it really does. And working on it was interesting, and I learned a lot. Um, like a lot of things that there's no way that I would know because I'm just kind of like a nice white liberal lady. And I learned a lot about how I can, kind of go about my day to day and change things, and kind of make the world a better, safer place.
So, do you have a favorite single issue story or title of all time?
It's funny because we were just talking about this on our Ahoy team meeting the other day, to be honest with you. I am a sort of fast reader, and I sometimes have to remember things like there are pictures that go along with these words. So I always have a preference for graphic novels. Um, and I think because I work in comics, um, I don't always read what's out there. Um, but when I was quite young, I read like a lot of Linda Barry and what else did I read? Um, just sort of things like that. But I could not say that I have a favorite single issue.
That's fair. That's fair. You know what? I couldn't answer that question with a definitive favorite either. Um, my fallback is kind of, oh yeah, well, Sandman was amazing.
Yeah, I was trying not to say Sandman. I my cousin used to read Archie, so that's always like I read her Archie comics, and I always tried to get my mom to buy them. But yeah.
When was the last time a comic made you cry?
Um, I I don't know that a comic has made me cry. Um, yeah, that's not something that I've ever really thought about, but don't I honestly don't know. I mean, I will say that comics will make you cry. Comics will make you cry and break your heart, but for wholly different reasons. Um, but yeah, I can't really say when a comic has made me cry for reasons that were not work related.
I feel like I wanna ask about that, but
When we're done.
it's okay. It's okay. This isn't the part of the show where we do that anyway. Um, so, is there anybody that stands out in your mind as the most inspiring comics creator in the industry?
The most inspiring. That's a good question because there's no one person. There's so many people who are doing really amazing work, and some people are inspiring, like we talked about Mark Russell being so prolific. Like that's inspiring unto itself, like that level of sort of, not only is it good work, but it's a lot of it and it's consistently wonderful. So like that kind of work ethic. And then we have, somebody like Kwanzaa, who is writing these really amazing books that are, really sort of socially conscious and kind of trying to get a message out there. And then you have somebody like David Pippos, who just sort of started putting out these books, and isn't really writing other, I mean, he's obviously, everybody's writing for, some sort of gain, but I feel like that has never been his ultimate goal. I think his ultimate goal has just been to write books that make him happy, that he wants to write. And like his success is it again, much like with Liana, his success absolutely delights me because he is such a great, wonderful person. I think was just writing to write comics because it's something that he loves, so again, like, is there a goal? I feel like for most people, yes, there is sort of a goal of, I mean, financial, obviously, but again, comics. But at the time that he started with Spencer and Monk, he just wanted to put his books out into the world. So again, like taking that step, like taking that leap, totally inspiring.
Oh, totally. Totally. It takes a special kind of courage, I think, to get up and not only start and finish the project, but then to put yourself out there and say, okay, this is it. It's hard. It's hard. I have some firsthand experience there. I've never quite gotten as far as any of these guys as a writer. But I totally respect it. Oh, I know. Okay, so we're up against the end of the show. Are you ready for the fun part?
Yes. I mean, the whole thing has been fun.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate that.
Like, hopefully I've been coherent.
Oh, no, you've been great. Oh, my God. You've been so good. You have been such a tremendous guest.
Sometimes I just talk and I don't quite know the words that are coming out of my mouth.
So, which Ninja Turtle do you see yourself as?
The one that really likes pizza. I can't remember one from the next, but definitely the one that likes pizza.
I'm going to be a straggler, though, or a nitpicker, rather, and say that they all sort of like pizza.
They all like pizza. Gosh, I'm just trying to remember their personalities. It's been a really
You're
long
thinking
time.
of Michelangelo.
I am thinking of Michelangelo, aren't I?
It's a good one. I'm sort of a Michelangelo, too, so it works out. Awesome. So, if you had a Batman-like security belt that was relevant to your life and interests, what would you put in it?
Oh, let's see. A red pen. Without question. Like, there would be a red pen in there. Some coffee.
Smart.
An iced coffee. And like an iced coffee holder. What else do I have in there? My phone, because if I don't have it within like 3 feet of me at all times, I feel like I'm missing a limb, which is very sad, I know, but when you're an editor, people email you all the time, like weekends, weekdays, just all the time. So my phone would be very close to me. Also, it has all my books on it. So that's another reason. And so there's this product called Eucerin, which is like for chapped skin. And I use it on my lips, and I feel always very sort of like I'm missing something if I don't have it. So that would also be in there.
Nice. What inspires you?
This is going to sound incredibly cheesy, but since I moved here, so Portugal is about as far west in Europe as you can get. So it has inspired me to start. I can't run because I have no cartilage in one of my knees, so I walk incredibly fast. And every day I go for a 2-hour walk. One of those hours I walk so that I can take pictures of the sunset. And then I walk the rest of the hour back. or the next hour back. So that inspires me. Working with really interesting people on really interesting projects always inspires me. Um, like I will, so this novel that I'm working on with a friend, um, like I'll kind of wake up in the morning and say like, okay, what if we change like this thing to this thing, you know? So working with really good teams, really good people, um, that always inspires me. Um, the joy of telling somebody that their story is going to see the light of day. Um, I mean, ultimately, I think making other people happy, kind of doing things for other people, really, or doing things for people that will bring joy to their heart makes me happy. I think it's the Jewish mom in me. Like I just want everybody to I just want everybody to be happy.
As a Jewish mom myself, I completely understand that sentiment. All right. What criteria do you look for in a sidekick or minion?
I'm kind of very independent, so I would feel bad for any minion or sidekick because I'd be like, no, 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 no. I'll do it myself. Um, so that's actually a really difficult question. Um, somebody who uh, somebody who thinks my jokes are funny.
Nice.
Because they're generally not.
That was funny though.
Well, thank you. Or would you like to be a minion? I have an opening. Or somebody who, you know, doesn't mind kind of sitting in silence while I work. Or who can just, you know, sort of sit. Oh, or somebody who doesn't mind cleaning my house.
Oh, there you go.
I have desperately got to clean my house, and I do not want to. Yeah. Oh, and somebody who cooks, somebody who bakes, somebody who really likes ice cream.
There you go. There you go. All right. Congratulations. You've defeated Thanos. You now have the Infinity Gauntlet in your possession. You can bend reality or change anything that you see fit. Now, you've probably got a huge list of things you want to do. But what's the first thing that you would change?
Oh God. Well, um, there are a lot of people who are in the US government and who were in the US government whom I would definitely, can I selectively snap people out of existence? Is that
I would
possible?
support that.
Like there are many people who I would opt to remove from the planet. I think so. I would get rid of all the really horrible people, like, and maybe like the entire state of Texas. Let's just have them screw right off. I think that'd be fine. Nobody would miss them. Does Texas have anything we need?
Well, okay. So, like in Austin and Houston, huge liberal communities. I'd keep them.
Okay, they can stay. Everything else, though, that goes. Every single like Q supporting insane Republican, they go. Mitch McConnell gone, Trump gone. Just all of these people just gone. And then after that, I feel like the world heals itself.
You are awesome, by the way.
Thank you. But you know, but also once that part is done, like let's bring back the endangered species. Let's bring back the coral reefs. I think that's super important. Let's do something about carbon emissions, which we could do, but
Hey,
so
can I
all
have a
that kind of
dinosaur?
stuff. Yes. What
I don't.
kind? No. Before I get really excited.
I don't know.
What
I'd
kind?
want a T-Rex, but he has to be a vegetarian.
Okay, yeah, that was sort of why I was asking because I feel like lobster raptors are not a great life plan, but like a nice brontosaurus
There you
would
go.
be nice. Like they're good. They eat plants.
And you could put a saddle right on him on the top of his back. He wouldn't even mind.
Yeah,
He wouldn't even know you're there for 5 minutes.
I think maybe the Flintstones have done something to you. The Flintstones have given us all some ideas. But yeah, it would probably be fine.
Awesome.
Give it a trade. It'll be fine. But yeah, mostly I would just really like to get rid of all the horrible people who are trying to like ruin everybody's lives for absolutely no good reason other than they can.
Hmm.
Like that's just not.
They need to go one way or
right.
another, I think.
Well, yes, absolutely. So yes, I would Thanos slap them. Thanos slap them. I would Thanos snap them into some absolutely horrible hell world.
Nice. There you go. So what's next for Sarah Litt?
Let's see. I might go back to the beach tomorrow. I'm working on a couple of fun projects with Ahoy that'll be out next year. They haven't been announced yet, so I am not at liberty to talk about them, but they are super fun, and I'm really excited about them. And eventually we will go back into the Black Superpowers universe. I do not advise saying that 5 times fast. What else? I'm working on a few other projects that haven't been announced yet, so I don't know if I can announce them. Like, obviously I cannot. So just, mostly just things that I can't talk about, I guess.
Oh, man. Oh, that's okay.
I know. I generally try not to be a tease, but sometimes it happens.
But there's a lot of stuff you can't talk about, though, so that's good.
Yeah. It's good, and it's all really fun stuff. So, that makes this job really easy. To work on fun things with great people is like I get to live the dream of so many people, and I really think that I'm super fortunate to get to do what I do.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to join me on my humble little podcast.
I've heard so many good things about you that there was absolutely no way I could say no.
Awesome.
So there was absolutely no way I could say no.
That is so nice of you to say. I really appreciate that.
Right? Just everything I've heard is true. And yeah.
Okay, so where can people find you online?
I am at Sarah Litt with 2 T's everywhere. Yes, it is my real name, and it is with an H, and it is everywhere.
Nice.
You can see my sunset pictures all over Instagram.
I really want to check those out now.
Yeah. It's the same handle as my Twitter.
Awesome. And that's all going to be in the show description. So everybody check the show description.
Check the show description. Please note that I am very, what do I do in my, I have to approve you for Instagram. So,
There you go.
And now it's time to go. Wasn't that fun? The Panel Garden is a show about the things we love. The show is produced and hosted by the adorable Eva Webb. Opening theme by Antonia Marquis and Tyler Scott. Closing theme by Mikey Flash of Speed Force Music. The credits are read by the awesome and talented Kat Bertano. That's me. And if you're feeling super generous, feel free to go to buymeacoffee.com/EvaIsAdorable. There, you can support what we do by chipping in as little as $1. Not financially able? That's okay. Shares on social media and reviews on your favorite podcast listening platforms help us a ton. Join us next time for another exciting adventure in cyberspace. See you then. Bye!